episode of the Phantom Zone where we're going to talk about Loki, among other things. I am going to attempt to be the captain of the ship tonight. I'm Erik.
Good
Who else
luck.
is with me? Yeah, thank you.
Arlen Haro for a jam-packed episode if things go as planned. So, yes.
I am teenage heartthrob Hunter Davenport.
And I'm depressed millennial heartthrob Isaiah.
Is there any other type of millennial at this point?
I don't think so.
No. I think they're all burdened under crushing guilt and or debt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or they're dating Florence Pugh. That's another.
Damn you, Zach Braff.
Well, no, Zach Braff is older than me, so he's not a millennial.
Is he Gen X then? Is that?
Yeah, he's like 47, I thought, isn't he? Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah,
He's
I think
old.
he would be. Yeah, he would
There's
be Gen
something about
X.
Zach Braff. He seems like a nice guy, but at the same time, you're like, fuck that guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like
Fuck
no
that
reason.
guy.
Yeah.
He looks like a miniaturized clone of Ray Romano.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah. He's like ultimate
He's
universe
like
Ray Romano.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
He's
Stevie
the Robert
Ray.
the doll of Ray Romano.
All new, all different Ray Romano.
Yeah, he's somebody wearing a Ray Romano costume.
Yeah, Ray Romano's the Alex Ross art, and he's like the fucking Mr.
So Loki ended recently, and my opinion personally is like that was fucking phenomenal. That was
It was surprising because I didn't know what to expect. I was just like, okay, we're gonna get a Loki show. I don't know it's gonna be weird, maybe mystical, and then I was like, this is really, really fucking good. Like it's
Yeah.
Well, I mean
Fantastic.
that was initially like when I saw they're doing a Loki show, I'm like, I'm okay with it, but I'm also like, what the fuck are they even gonna do? And I'm so glad they did what they did.
The writing, like, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was
gonna say, like, everything about it's pretty good. Like the music's good, the costumes are good, the sets are good, but the writing and acting really like pulled it together. You know?
Yeah, definitely,
absolutely.
And Luke Wilson was unbelievably good in the whole thing.
Yeah.
For when he was in there.
Wait, did you just say Luke Wilson?
Did you say Luke
Owen
Wilson?
God damn it.
Owen Wilson.
Owen
Wow.
Wilson.
Wow.
You know, I didn't grow up with Cars movies, so I don't care.
You know, Loki.
Erik,
My brother Luke.
God damn it.
The whole cast is good. Like the woman who plays what's her name?
Sylvie? Or
yeah, she's like
Renslayer.
Italian.
Oh.
Yeah, well, both of them are amazing. They're both good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the whole cast is like amazing.
Yeah,
I really like Sylvie.
Yeah.
Sylvie's cute. Like I was like, oh my god, I love her.
She's great.
Like,
Yeah, I very much want to go back and watch all of her BBC stuff because she has quite a bit. She has a show with Olivia Colman that I'm going to watch.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad with her it ended up not being just straight up the Enchantress. Like
they did her own thing, and she wasn't just Loki, but a woman. She was still her own unique person in a way.
Yep.
Yeah, they did the Marvel playbook kind of, and it was great. It worked. So yeah.
Like even with the other Lokis, you see multiple versions of Loki, but they're all not just like acting exactly like the Loki you know. They're still, I mean, they're still similar in the betrayal, backstabbing way, but they're all like unique, you know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, a great example is Richard E. Grant. He's doing what he would do with Loki. He's not just trying to match Tom's Loki. But it still works. They still feel like the same.
He's old and he's already like failed, and he knows like I'm not like I don't have the ego anymore, you know, because he's just like I fucked up, and I'm just like an old dude.
Yeah.
Well, in the same sense, though, he also had the more like operatic, like comic book version of Loki going on, not just because of the costume, but it was kind of perfect having him in that role because that I could kind of see him playing Loki if they needed an older Loki for the show at some point.
Yeah, like that Loki is at the point where it's like I can sacrifice myself.
Right. Yeah. Like I absolutely agree. Like the way that his final moments work, it's just it's really perfect. And I think because it's Richard E. Grant, and we all know him from something, we all have a thing that we think of as the Richard E. Grant thing. We feel like we know this Loki really well with all of our combined experiences from other stuff and from Marvel work. So it just feels like you're watching the end of this version of the character that feels so fully formed. And it's just really well done. It's just really well handled.
Even the little backstory he gives, where he says he like he tricked Thanos and like escaped, but then he kind of got like, did he get like jettisoned into fucking some pocket of space or some shit like that?
Yeah, he ended up crashing on a planet or something like that, and ended up just living there
like
on
the
his
TVA,
own.
then the TVA came and got him, and then fucking
yeah. As soon as he was leaving the planet to go back to Asgard to see Thor, because he said he missed him. Like that was when the TVA scooped him up.
Yeah.
Which that was, I mean, it was something that got explained kind of at the end of the show, but I don't feel like they did as good a job as they could have explaining exactly why some of the Loki variants were being snatched up by the TVA, or was it just because their existence would lead to other versions of
I think it's just like for example, the one we've seen with our Loki is that like even though the Avengers did kind of set the situation up, they were supposed to do what they were supposed to do. But him making the choice of like picking up the Tesseract and like leaving with it was like, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Based on well, spoilers, based on whoever's in control decision. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right.
Technically, people can do what the fuck they want, but based on his whims, he's like, no, because this is creating another timeline, and I don't want that. So basically, based on whoever's in charge, he's doing not what he's supposed to do, whatever. So.
Right. Well, yeah.
No, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was going to say.
Go
ahead.
Erik, you go. Yes.
What I was going to say is like the impression I got from what He Who Remains was telling us at the end of the series was that like the reason why these timelines were being pruned were to keep any other versions of him from coming into power.
Which is true, but it's still kind of a fucked up thing because it's like you're taking away people's like free will unless it fits with your version, even though it's still kind of like, he wasn't necessarily a bad guy either. Yeah, you're right, because he's kind of like,
right, yeah. Well,
he's
so the way that right. Well, so the way I took it is he's specifically going after beings who have the makeup to challenge him, or to be another him. I mean, that's the way that I took it. And with the Loki's thing,
they're literally other versions of him.
Right. That's literally why he was pruning timelines, was to keep other versions of himself from coming into power.
But on the Loki bent part of that, the way I took it is because Richard E. Grant says Lokis are survivors. That's why there's so many of them in the void, because Lokis just live on much in a way that other characters don't. And if they felt the need to include a bunch of other characters, they would have had that. Like if they felt the need to pick out Rocket Raccoon as another character who is in a similar category, we would have seen a bunch of variants of Rocket. But I think that they just didn't want to spend the money to show us a bunch of variants of Rocket to get the point across.
Yeah, they had Easter eggs of other characters, but they didn't have like you didn't see them.
Right. Yeah. They kept it very sparing. And related to what we're doing, or what the show is. Like,
even though there's probably other characters that are variants, we mostly saw Loki's because like Loki's probably does a lot of chaotic shit to get put in there, and also, but they're also like able to survive that fucking monster thing, you know?
Yeah. So, I took it as like extreme rule breakers are the ones who get taken to the TVA in that way. Again, like my example of Rocket Raccoon, I could easily see there being just an entire continent of rockets just all fighting over shit, just somewhere in the void.
They need to make
for
that.
similar reasons.
I kind of wish they would have like went a little there with the budget. I mean, they already had a big budget, but I kind of get why they didn't have like a shitload of other cameos. But like, I kind of wish they would have like had like an alternate Steve Rogers or alternate whatever, like Hulk or something, you know?
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's part of what's made these shows strong is that they haven't relied on crazy cameos. It's just been...
they have like they toned it down a little bit. They're tame with it. They're not doing too much.
The cameos that show up.
No, Erik, that's always some bad.
They're the things that show up that aren't like anything we've seen before, anything we're expecting are integral parts of the plot, like having like a U.S. agent in Falcon Winter Soldier
and fucking what's his name?
Agatha,
the Black Captain America.
Yeah, Isaiah. Yeah.
Yeah, they all make sense.
Yeah.
So far, in all the shows.
Name.
I know. But yeah, they're all important to the story, and I think with Loki, that was one of the strongest things. Is that like with all the other shows, it's been two people sharing the limelight, and with this, yeah, you could say that Sylvie was as much the star of the show as Loki was, but he was still a more important character for the show.
Yeah,
right. He's kind of like the point of view character. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah. There's more of an
made this so much stronger.
Yeah, there's more of like a supporting ensemble in this, but it all does revolve back around to Tom as Loki. Who's I don't know if we said this enough. He's great. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's really good
in the entirety of the show.
And he said that he would. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that first. Because it's the Loki from the Avengers, where it's like I didn't care as much. I'm like, oh, he's kind of an asshole, but let's see what he does. And then like they still made us care about him. It's like, oh, he's sympathetic in some ways because he's like. They get him to admit that he's like an immature, scared piece of shit, and he's like a little child, you know. And he kind of like he basically has that therapy of like admitting that he's not, like he's just kind of like insecure and shit, you know.
Yeah, in that first episode, and in the time prison with Sif, like just these really like great moments where Tom really gets to like open up and show a side of Loki that we haven't seen in the course of 10 years of other films. I really appreciated that. I really enjoyed like this different depth to Loki, and then the way that allows the finale moment where he does his speech to Sylvie. It allows that to feel natural when that comes.
Yeah, it was believable. It didn't feel like bullshit, you know.
Yeah, because we had this groundwork laid for over those other two episodes, and I really enjoyed the way that worked out.
Yeah.
Which speaking I guess of the last episode, what did everybody think of the kind of unexpected cameo?
I mean, unexpected, but also like we like a lot of us anticipated it. People that like know about the comics and like know about the casting of Jonathan Majors as Kang, but it was kind of like not what I expected at the same time. Like I thought it was gonna be like, oh, I'm Kang, I'm evil, blah blah blah. But it's more like a person who kind of like who's alternate version of who the man who Kang could be. He's basically just this guy who's like in charge, he's powerful, but he's more like, I'm doing this fucked up shit, but like we all done fucked up shit, and he's like, I'm doing this for a good reason, you know.
Well, I feel like them using the TVA, like that's why they went with the one who remains, because I mean that was the guy who was the head of the TVA, but Majors was more playing Immortus than he was playing He Who Remains, which I'm fine with that. And like having to explain like, oh well, Immortus is this guy, but blah blah. Like He Who Remains made more sense for the story they're telling with Kang.
I also like I think it's like his acting skills that like he's like mostly giving exposition. It's still boring or like no. It was just like this is actually interesting because he's like I'm tired and I'm old and I mean you kill me and like fucking unleash worse needs that are gonna arrive, or you can just take over and fucking rule the shit for me. Like, and it's like, like I don't know, he's believable. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like
he has a very Oh, sorry, Isaiah.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say he has a very kind of charisma about him that I find really endearing.
Very much. Yeah.
Well, this was Hunter. I don't know if you saw it in the chat, but something I'd mentioned after watching that episode was it felt like there were times that Majors was going into different accents very slightly. And maybe it was just me, but I feel like I heard that, and the story I concocted is just because he's so old and he's seen so much, like he's absorbed so many different cultures into who he is. So it would make sense that he would kind of flip between accent to accent. Yeah. But I just wasn't sure if I was the only one who heard that.
I like his kind of mood swings. Because like when they were when they first arrived, they were like attacking him. He's like happy and welcoming. When he's explaining and he's like I weaponized the Goliath, and he's kind of getting a little sinister or just like angry, kind of like what he had to do with like destroying things, and it's like Jesus, like potentially scary, but he's still benevolent in some ways,
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was just to show that he's mentally unstable at this point.
Yeah,
like
and also just giving a hint of like this guy is slightly unstable, but he's still kind of like nice. What if like the other ones are gonna be fucking 10 times worse?
Exactly. And
when we actually see Kang, oh my god.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, that statue at the end of the episode was Kang's costume minus the helmet, like it down to a T. So I'm curious how accurate they're going to be, and that's the other crazy thing with this now. It's like there can be a million versions of him, and it's not just one guy.
Yeah, I like that he has the range to do different, like not the same character every time we see a different version.
Yep.
I mean, that was a concern I had when they announced this casting, and it's why I was so sure that he wasn't just going to show up in like mustache twirl. That it was going to be something a little bit meatier. And I think that I was very much proven right. Like, yeah, we're going to get different versions of him. I wouldn't be surprised if Ant-Man has multiple versions of him as main characters.
That's what I was thinking. Is like the name of Ant-Man 3 is Quantumania. So like I feel like the bulk of the Kangs are going to be in that movie.
Yeah. Or at least it's going to introduce us to a bunch of different Kangs.
Yeah. Like they can literally do so much with it. They could have like a version who's like, going along with Ant-Man and helping him, and as in like and then like gets killed, and then it'd be kind of cool to see like some are helping and some are evil, some are just neutral.
Well, and I really hope, I'm not going to say I guarantee, but I really hope we do get to see like Iron Lad, which was just the teenage version of Kang, and Vision's like wearing Vision as armor essentially.
Yeah, it's kind of like an Iron Man, but not.
Yeah, like I think that would be rad. I mean, it's if all things, as Arlen has been saying and a lot of other people have been saying, is like it seems to be pointing towards Young Avengers, which I think would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, and I do want to point this out, not to toot my own horn. I think I predicted the Young Avengers thing when we did like an Endgame conversation, I know far more. Like I think we understand where things are going way more. I'm more excited for Doctor Strange 2 than I ever thought I would be.
Yeah.
If you told me I would be this excited in 2016, I would have punched you in the face probably. Because
you would have sullenly drunk wine and stared at us from the corner of your eye.
I would have thought about wine because I wasn't drinking at the time. I was sober completely. So
whoa, sober.
Not. I was dry.
What was that?
Just like two more things. So one thought. I feel like the Loki show is very much setting up future stuff, but like the best version of them setting up stuff was like there's a lot of movies where like, oh, this is clearly just setting up the future movies, but this is like this is like the most like I don't know, this is like the best way to done it,
Yeah.
You can just say it's not Ultron. It's not an Ultron. As much as I have defended that movie many times, but that is its greatest sin, which is that it's just a commercial for the next few movies.
Well, and based on go ahead. No.
I was gonna say Jonathan Majors, he was so good because he was doing like a lot of like just eating the scenery shit where he's like standing on the table and like being a little eccentric and like he's Loki like
you
know what I mean? Like
well, and I think they needed him to come out like that over the top and strong just so people would be like, oh, this guy's really interesting. Like I want to know more about this guy. Like because Thanos, we got a slow leak, and like even if you weren't reading comics or hadn't read comics, you could still ask anybody who had a passing knowledge of Marvel, like, oh, well, who's Thanos? And they'd be like, oh, he's this bad guy, blah, blah. But like with Kang, it works to make him seem interesting, because then, like you were saying earlier, Izza, and I believe you were too, Arlen, that having different versions of him leads you to be like, well, no, this is a version of him that could be good, blah, blah, blah. So I really think that was a credit for Marvel to let him just kind of take over that entire half hour of the show and basically monologue.
Like for some reason, like like him talking was just really entertaining.
I do want to bring up something that, we all kind of had an idea that King might show up. But I do want to address this sort of thinking that was there before he actually did, which was, and I know people were worried about him not making sense, and that the plot hadn't really set him up, and that he would feel out of place. I don't want to give them credit for not making him feel out of place at all. He completely fits. I think that the way that the interaction between him and Sylvie and the way that we get there, I think it all perfectly fits with the theme of the show. Yes, it sort of holds some stuff so that they can happen in a future season. But it's stuff that we know will be addressed in said future season. It's not a WandaVision or a Captain or a Falcon the Winter Soldier thing where we don't know when we'll get to revisit these things next, and we don't know how they'll be handled there. We know that there's going to be another season of Loki, and presumably most of the stuff about, the idea of what is a Loki will be continued primarily there. So I don't mind if they didn't deal with that entirely, but they still stayed on theme. They kept it within the show, and they made him work within the context of the show. He did not feel out of place at all.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, they made him like, well, I don't know if we used to call this version Kang that we've seen, but whatever. But like that version of Kang, I feel like from what he explained, he fits in everything, because he's kind of like allowing, like he only allows like kind of one timeline to exist, and that's all the movies we've seen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's like he's connected to all that.
Well, and that's, I mean, back to the bigger thing of like them introducing the next big villain in one of their TV shows. I can see them continuing to use this trend to introduce things for the movies, because it's an easy way to soft launch things. And if they don't get a good response, they can be like, okay, well, we won't put them in the movies then. Like, it's just, it's shocking to me how well it's worked. And like, I don't feel like with any of these shows, I mean, WandaVision didn't feel like it had as big a reveal, other than Wanda, going full Scarlet Witch at the end of it. But with them introducing John Walker and in Falcon Winter Soldier, like that seems really huge, and it worked out really well.
Also, like, Madam Hydra as well.
Yes.
Like,
no, okay.
She didn't do much, but she still like was an interesting thing of like, okay, there's going to be more to this in the future,
Yep.
It's more like casting a fishing rod. It's like you throw it out there, kind of wait, and slowly pull it back in.
Yep.
I feel like she's basically like the antithesis to Nick Fury. She's like,
Yeah. I think that's what they're going to go for, and I really hope they have Hydra kind of like what was left became more legitimate in a way. Like they have whatever type of business going on, and they're really doing all their evil deeds under the guise of this business. I don't know. We'll see. There's tons of things.
Like all these shows have been good, and I like that they're fleshing out the world a little bit, and the characters, giving characters that haven't like had enough more development. But it's also like, like the movies don't have to be as bloated now, because there's like a bridge of like content between the movies,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home are going to have a lot of heavy lifting to do, but it's still not going to be nearly as heavy as it would be if they didn't have Loki and they didn't have any of the other like expectation that some things will show up on Marvel TV shows.
Yeah. It's they've built out their universe in a way that is it only allows you more options to give people the information. It kind of goes back to this rule in screenwriting, which is assume that your audience misses half the things that you say. So you have to repeat them. Because of the avenues that they have here, if you're the one person who wasn't paying attention in X scene in X movie, you can reiterate things and you can remind people of what's going on. And I think I actually think the shows will do more to pull people in, honestly. Because like it just gives you more opportunity to show you things that you hadn't seen before. I mean, we assume that that possibly, say, Brie Larson shows up in Miss Marvel. But we could also get I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, Monica Rambeau in that show as well.
Yeah. Well, they're all
going to
be in the movie.
Watch
so.
WandaVision, you get her, and you get more of her backstory in that show before the Marvels comes out.
I think the timing of these shows are really good too. Since the whole quarantine and COVID shit, people are just at home a lot more. I mean, people are starting to go out, but people are at home a lot more, and they're like, "Oh, people are talking about this fucking Loki show, and I'll go check it out." It's like a lot of people are gonna see this, or at least hear about it, and then like when the movies come out, they're like, "Oh fuck, I've already like been prepared for this fucking these movies, and I want to see these."
Well, and something else, like a theory I'd had on why they were showing Loki on Wednesdays was because they didn't want to cannibalize their potential in the theaters. But I'm beginning to now think they're just like, fuck it, let's throw it on a Wednesday and see if we can do well. Oh, we did do really well. All right, we can go on.
It's also Odin's Day.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's Odin's Day. Wednesday is Odin's Day. So
that's true. You're right. You're right. But yeah, it kind of makes me think like part of it might have still been the not to cannibalize the theater sales, but I think it was also just to be like, let's see if we can get people to watch it on a Wednesday or a Tuesday or a Thursday instead of just Friday. And
I mean,
it worked really well, and now they can just be like, all right, this is coming out any day of the week we want it to.
It's very likely. And also something I brought up is they do care about headlines and like how much of the news cycle they fill up and control.
Yeah.
Companies think about this all the time. It's why they'll just like drop things during dead zones to get more attention. Them dropping this on Wednesday means that they don't have to compete with other things that are also going to get that attention. And it allows them to not cannibalize the news coverage and memes and all kinds of things from their other shows and from Black Widow. So yeah, I think that was part of it, but also like the show, I actually think it got more of a response. Like I felt more energy because it came in the middle of the week. I have no idea if that's
because boring. Just Wednesdays are so boring, and it's like you're at work and like it gives you something to at least look forward to on Wednesday. Because Wednesdays there's nothing going on.
That was basically going to be my point as well. It's like it's a day that like you're going to get people that are coming specifically to your streaming service for. They're not like, oh, it's Friday, let's see what's on. I'll watch this because whatever. But like when like, you specifically are looking for a day to go to this. So yeah, that makes sense.
Because you're like out of work and you're like, fuck, I gotta go home. Oh, I can go home and watch Loki. I'll look for it. Like, you know what I mean? It's a little like, dang, like it's cool.
Yeah, none of the hours of endlessly scrolling to find a thing to watch.
Thinking about it, you might actually be right, I say, on why they put it on Wednesday.
Wednesday's such a boring fucking work day, and it's just like,
No, but I'm saying like that with it being Odin's Day, I could see someone in Marvel being like, no, it's Odin's Day. We need to put it on Wednesdays.
Also, he is Loki, and Thursday is Thor's Day. So
he's one upping Thor.
Yeah.
See,
Loki
if you bring this up, if you brought this up to Kevin Feige, he just automatically say yes because, like, I'm pretty sure he'd be like,
because half the time people will bring things up and he's like, "Yeah, I'll take credit for that. Sure, why not?"
So
doesn't need a fucking job.
So yeah, what anything else that like people wanted specifically to bring up about the show, which might lead into other conversation, but like it's just it that's my one problem with these shows is that I feel like once you get to like the last like 3 episodes, you kind of forget about everything that's happened before that. because you're just like, you're so tuned into the conclusion of it. And for me, like, it's that last episode of Loki was so big that I was just like, yeah, the rest of it was great, but this was what I needed. Like, this was the shot in the arm that I need to know exactly what's going to be happening with the Marvel universe going forward.
I feel like being 6 episodes is good though, because it feels like a short movie instead of like you know, most series that like for example The Flash or something. Like I like the first couple seasons. I'm not talking about how it got shitty later on. I'm like the first couple seasons are good, but it's like there's a lot of episodes, and like you do kind of forget like what some of the previous things you've seen. But like 6 episodes is good enough for you can remember most of it, and like
you know, it's just condensed enough that I don't mind. Like, people were calling episode 3 a filler episode. I didn't mind that because we didn't have
that one.
20 episodes. Yeah.
No,
like
3 was great.
I like 3 a lot too. I think that there are places where I think stuff from 4 could have been in 3 and it might have been, I don't know, slightly better, but I still really like the episode. I really like how, you know, Michael Waldron in interviews really made it clear what his influences were. And if you had a notepad out and you were checking off boxes, you could see where the influences were every single time. So the before sunrise, before midnight, and so on influences are definitely there in that episode. And I think
that makes a lot of sense.
Very well. Yeah.
I didn't know that was a big influence on him. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's very clear when you think that way. And among other things, I mean, he talked about Mad Men in an interview that I remember listening to, and there are a couple
remember
others.
Sylvie gaining like 50 pounds and eating bonbons all the time.
Well, no, so the Mad Men, one of the main things for Mad Men was the first episode. The very first episode. Yes, smoking. Well, it does seem like there should be a cigarette, but they're never holding one.
That's that 70s aesthetic too.
No, but the DB Cooper stuff in the first episode is apparently a reference to Mad Men. Because John Hamm's character is widely theorized to be DB Cooper by most
That's
of
actually
the internet.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
What?
No.
Hold on, wait.
Mm-hmm.
What?
You never heard that?
Well, if you dig into Mad Men forums, people have long theories about why.
Oh my god!
Why the John Hamm character is DB Cooper in the universe of that.
That sounds stupid. I kind of love it.
So wait, is he supposed to be DB Cooper after doing the plane thing?
No, it's before, because it all takes place before.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
all
watch
of it takes
a lot of
place.
Mad Men.
Yeah, well, because it ends with I want to give the world a Coke commercial. That I don't know if that's a spoiler for Mad Men. I think most people know that. But yeah, it ends with him creating that commercial, which is before DB Cooper. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I want to say Mad Men ends in like 1967 or 68, sometime around there. That's yeah. Because I mean, DB Cooper was mid to late 70s, if I remember correctly.
I can't remember honestly.
Yeah, I think it's like it's mid 70s. It's a lot of orange, and among other things. So the show, we're on a real tangent here. But like I said, the influences are all over the place. Waldron talked about being a huge fan of Lost, which is there in the 5th episode, I would say, in quite a few places, even if you have a passing knowledge of Lost. And there are other ones that we don't have to go into every single one of them. I do want to point out something that I've been thinking throughout the show, which is this show is kind of Loki's version of the Thor trilogy. In a way. And specifically in the way that his character grows. This is something that I sort of noticed. We get the story arc from Thor 1 of him learning the value of people, and learning that he isn't the most important thing. It's not as there as it is in Thor 1, but but it is there. It is part of the show, and he begins to like actually empathize with human emotions. And
That's
then
the
we
opposite of
also,
a Dutch angle.
yeah, exactly. And then we also get Ragnarok, which is all about redefining your power and, learning about what you can be, and what your true potential is, and not just going off of what you were raised to be. And it's that line that they say, as a old Loki is creating Asgard out of illusions, that Sylvie says, I think we're more powerful than we think. That is very much a Ragnarok, what are you the god of moment. So yeah, like, it's there. Nothing important happens in Thor 2. I refuse to believe anything.
I think you made a mistake. No, so in Thor 2, he does Thor does kind of like learn to kind of like forgive and bond with Loki a little bit, which Loki also does with Loki. Loki learns how to deal with
it. Loki learns to forgive himself. You know what? I'm gonna give you that.
He learns to kind of like, well, Sylvie, because she's also a Loki.
Right.
He kind of learns to like, trust and have like some kind of bond with, someone that you
there are lessons in Thor 2. I just still can't. I can't really appreciate that movie fully. I like it more than I have in the past, but it's still
that movie to me, as I know it's not like amazing or great, but it's still like an entertaining watch for me, and it has Kat Dennings, so it's great.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's
not.
I haven't watched it in a very long time, so I can't really speak
kind of like,
on it.
It's one of those movies that, like, if it's on like TBS or something in the background, you probably watch it, but it's not like you're not like blown away. You're just like, oh, that was a movie.
I mean, it's very visually appealing. As Marvel movies go,
some like good funny stuff in there.
Yeah. I like the intern of the intern. He's fun. He's
I feel like some of the comedy bits work with like Selvig running around naked in the fucking Stonehenge or some shit.
I want my shoe back. Damn, Stan. Good job, Stan. But this so that's a thought that's been running through my mind as the show has been running, which is, this is very much like his version of the Thor movies. It's doing a similar thing, and it's making him more of a heroic character. And I'm very much in favor of that.
No, that actually works really well, because the first 2 episodes do work pretty parallel to Thor, and then the second or the third and fourth episodes work well to be the parallel for Dark World, and then the last 2 are the ones where it definitely feels more like Ragnarok. So no, I can back up this theory. I like this quite a bit.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So it is said. So it is written. One of the things I fucking loved the 5th episode. Yeah, the 5th episode. Just all of the Easter eggs throughout that episode were so great. Like the giant version of
Yellowjack.
Yellowjacket's helmet. Yeah. The Thanos copter. Like seeing like the helicarrier and the Dark Aster like both crashed right near each other.
They even have like a bust statue of the Living Tribunal.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that. That was fucking rad. Yeah, it just you can see like Marvel isn't afraid to put these things in there, at least for fans, to just be like, all right, we're probably never going to get to this in the movies, but here you go. And this also worked really well. Just this entire series worked well for introducing the idea of what if, which I think is going to connect directly to Doctor Strange 2, because like you had pointed out, Arlen, in that one trailer, it's Doctor Strange is definitely talking to Captain Britain there.
Yeah. If it's not deceptive editing, it very much seems like he's interacting with that situation. So if it's not, even if it's not directly setting up Doctor Strange 2, it's probably setting up concepts that will be explored in Doctor Strange 2. So I could definitely see that. I mean, it's weird. We know more about Doctor Strange 2, I feel like, than any other Marvel movie that's coming out. But I still am excited by what we don't know, because there's still important details. Like, how does Bruce Campbell fit in? I assume just a cameo, but I mean, it could be more. You never know.
Well, I'm curious to see like how the multiverse is going to play into this along with Wanda, like because that's a lot of balls to juggle, and I'll be curious to see how well Raimi handles it because I feel like he hasn't done anything like this in a while. Like Spider-Man was the last, like, well, I mean, there was Oz the Great and Powerful, or whatever the fuck it was, but that was not anywhere near this level.
Yeah, I mean, he's been busy donating to CPAC. He's been off for a while, and I'm very curious to see the movie will be like. I mean, I brought this up when they confirmed that he was doing this. He kind of redefined what this genre is early on, and he gets to come back in as other people have played with it and also redefined it. Very interested to see how that works out.
There's the thing about some of the earlier Spider-Man movies, like in a lot of ways they're classics. Like the third one sucks, but
right.
Like I always had a little bit of a problem. Like they're a little goofy and a little like wacky, but after learning that it's kind of on purpose, I kind of appreciate them more.
No, they're going for
I saw an interview with like Willem Dafoe. Yeah, Willem Dafoe saying that the director was telling him like to be like over the top and fucking like, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I was like, okay,
exactly. Like, you know, going back to an earlier Sam Raimi movie, Darkman. That movie's very inspired by the Universal monsters and like 1930s and 40s movies. And expressionism and stuff like that.
Wet homeless people.
Right. Yes. Yes. And
that one.
pink elephants. So yeah, like
Times Square, 1982.
But yeah, like he does it big. He plays it big, but he's not incapable of playing it straight. And I feel like that's probably one of the reasons they brought him back. Like this movie is going to be a Marvel movie. It's going to feel like an MCU because he did a couple movies in the 90s that were more straight-laced and less big and operatic. But at the same time, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness feels like a movie that is perfect for having moments that do feel bigger and more operatic. It's built into the story, so yeah.
It also gives him an out for if he wants to have his trademark goofiness with any parts, because it can be honest, a multiverse.
I think his goofiness would be more fun seeing like magical and celestial entities being goofy instead of just like because Spider-Man is just like kind of grounded where it's like this guy has technology, but it's like there's regular people. But like Doctor Strange deals with like demons and like mystical wizards and all kinds of shit. It'd be kind of cool to see that wackiness in that, where it's like maybe Shuma Gorath has a funny voice, or maybe fucking or maybe you know, like whatever demon that he meets there for still kind of campy or something. It's still kind of funny, like
and it can work because he's shown he can handle it. So that's so with what they ended up having happening with Jonathan Majors, he remains being killed. I'm curious how this might affect the eventual Fantastic Four and potentially the X-Men. If the way they're going to use it, and this is the running theory I have in my head, is that they'll introduce them in one of the tangent universes, and then when they collapse everything back into the main timeline again somehow, aspects
it's not going to be the same.
Exactly. Aspects of the other multiverses will be popping up, so it'll be like Fantastic Four have always been a part of it, and same thing with mutants, and that'll be their way of just hand waving, having to explain all of it too much.
Could be.
Running theory.
I think anything is possible. I'm curious to see how long they're gonna marinate in the multiverse nature of things.
Because it seems like the next couple movies aren't gonna really have much of a connection to it outside of Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. Thank you. Yeah, because I don't see how Eternals they're gonna touch on it, and I certainly don't see that happening in Shang-Chi either.
So
the thing is, they don't have to necessarily, but they're still they could be alternate universes, or they don't have to. Like, you know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah,
could be. I mean, it could be that we don't know the scope of the MCU version of the Eternals yet.
No.
but they could be aware of what's going on. They could be aware of the splintering of universes in some way. I have no idea. Maybe one of the characters has been given a big upgrade from their comics version, and they're very aware of. Yes, it's Kumail. It's Kumail is so jacked that he can see the
the curvature of space time. No, actually, go ahead, Isa.
There's a thing that came out the other day of Kevin Feige saying that he had a meeting with like the creators or I don't know the word to use, and I don't know exactly who this includes, but like the people, the MCU like people or whatever that like had a meeting about how the Loki's timeline stuff is gonna like multiverse stuff is gonna affect things, and like so I feel like all the creators like Coogler and all the people that are helping these movies are gonna like they all agreed on like rules and how things work for the future. So the things they write are gonna like either fit in or like somehow like not go against what the multiverse rules are.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can imagine that the way Marvel and Kevin do things are just like, all right, for this particular group of phases, it's just going to be this is our main villain in the background, which will be Thanos for the first one, and then they probably just had Kang on a whiteboard, and then whatever lines coming out of him to whatever stuff it would be connected to. But yeah,
I think but like whatever they do in like for example the Black Panther or Wakanda show or whatever, like they can probably do whatever they want, the writers, but at the same time you can't like do things that are going to like what's the word I'm looking for, like be like not the multiverse shit or whatever rules that they set up in Loki. So everything has to kind of like make sense.
I've been thinking about this a lot, like what their plan is, and I've come to a couple of conclusions. It seems like this, because we've talked about this many times, the space stuff, and the whole James Wan having his own corner, that seems to be pushed in.
James Gunn, you mean?
Or did I say a different name?
Wan. You said James.
Oh, did I? Why did I? That might be wishful thinking on my part. No, James Gunn is what I meant to say. It seems like that stuff has been pushed to the side. It also sounds like maybe he doesn't like Marvel after Disney fired him, so maybe that stuff is. I don't know the status of that stuff. So
he still loves working with those actors and the cast and stuff. So I think he's probably still down.
Absolutely. But I'm referencing he did an interview where he said Guardians 3 might be his last Marvel movie. It doesn't mean it's the last one that he's a part of. It just means it might be the last one he directs.
Well, I mean,
which would be fine.
I could see the original plan for him being like, the figurehead for the space stuff still happening, but it had to get reshuffled because of that bullshit with him being fired anyways.
Yes.
So
exactly.
They're just pushing it back while they go through this.
I think it absolutely is in the back. I get the feeling that they are sort of doing this on multiple levels. Like there are multiple levels of the MCU now. And I think that they're treating it that way. So I think Kang he's the cosmic Thanos character. I don't think he is the Thanos.
No, he's the quantum Thanos character.
Well, yes.
Thanos was already cosmic.
Yes. Well, I mean, super cosmic. But yes, quantum. Yes, is a good way of saying it. He's the top level, and I feel like that's what they're kind of going for. We're gonna get, if we're correct about Young Avengers, probably Young Avengers, I don't know, versus Thunderbolts or something, or some Earthbound threat, something there. It might link to Doom. I don't know. It might link to them in the 4. We don't know. We can't say for sure at this moment. We just know that it looks like they're doing Young Avengers to deal with what I have no clue.
I think it would make sense to have the Thunderbolts. God damn it! Never mind. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil anything.
Right.
Yeah. Continue. Sorry.
I think I might have lost my track. Anyways, I think my point was it feels like they're going in multiple places. They're going in multiple directions, and those directions will weave together in some places. But I think that we will see stories that have multiple conclusions, and it's not just leading up to one big end game like situation. That's how I feel about it. I have no idea where they're going. Maybe they are trying to thread all of it together, but it just seems like there are too many disparate lines for everything to come together the way that it did before, and I wouldn't want them to, because that would be them repeating themselves.
I don't know. I think they have more avenues to tell a larger story that when it would all coalesce at the end, it would have even more impact.
It could.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a team up of everything that we've seen Marvel-wise, like heroes. It could be something kind of like how Hickman's run on Avengers went, which secretly ended up being actually the end of his Fantastic Four run. Like at the very end, the Secret Wars books were basically a Fantastic Four story. So I could see it, like, if Fantastic Four are going to be introduced eventually, have like the last movie in this cycle be their big, like, like we're the Fantastic Four, and kind of slap their dick on the table, like, and have that be their final like fight with Doom, who is being assisted by Kang or something along those lines. So it could be similar in a way to having like a final endpoint like Endgame, but maybe not quite as large, because like you said, they'll have the ability to have multiple endings that are satisfactory.
Yeah, like I could see, multiple things can happen. And I'm very curious to see how it all works together. At the same time, I think it's inevitable that we see Thor and Loki reunite at some point. And I'm more interested in that than I was before going into the show and before they announced the show. Because I felt like I still really love his ending in Endgame, and I still really like the emotional sort of finality of that. But at the same time, Thor meeting this version of Loki who has gone even further down the line of being a good person, and them like getting to do, as Thor said in the elevator, fight side by side forever. Like, I really want that. So I could see them doing that. I could see certain things coming together in that way, where there is a cosmic thing that does intertwine with this quantum thing. Erik, we talked about, how it would be perfect if there is an end game type moment for the space stuff, for Peter Quill to do a Tony. And I still think that they probably will do something like that, or at least play with the idea of that.
Then you made me think of something that, like, I feel like I want to eventually, maybe not like soon, but eventually, like, Loki and Thor have both grown and like got more powerful, and they've changed a lot. And when I want them to finally meet together when like things are crucial, and then like they both die together, fucking in an epic battle side by side, fighting off some
Absolutely,
that'd be badass.
I also want to see human Thor do the I need help trick, except using crocodile Loki.
Yes.
Help, my brother needs help.
Well, the kid did that. Kid Loki did that. He throws the alligator at.
He did. You're right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. And
that was pretty fun.
Marvel MCU got to continue their Star Wars homage and have somebody lose a hand.
yeah.
But yeah, for me at least, I don't know if there's anything else anybody wanted to bring up. Like, it ended up paying off better than I could have ever expected it to, because the whole time these Marvel shows existed, I'm like, there's no way they're going to introduce a major villain in any of them. Like, it's going to be stuff that'll have effects on the movies, but it's not going to have that big an effect. And Loki went and proved me wrong, and it worked out well. So if this is what the future of Marvel's TV shows, like quality wise, they're going to be, I am forever and ever sold to the Marvel slavery. Like, I will do whatever the fuck they want me to do to watch their movies, because
I'm willing to sell out to Disney right now.
Yes.
Kevin Feige, if you're listening, send me money.
If you want to give me discount tickets to Disney World, that's cool. I'll take that, and I will continue
I'll
all the time.
Use your God stature to bring back Tower of Terror in LA.
Nope. You guys get the Guardians right now.
Just give me the Rod Sterling hologram then. Just give me that. Give him.
Put that.
I'll take.
Put that into the Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Put Rod Sterling back. You know what? There are ways to do it. He's like a broken projection that like got stuck in space. Just give me back that Rod Sterling impersonator doing a perfect Rod Sterling.
Listen, they were able to put the Yeti from Matterhorn into that Guardians of the Galaxy ride. So they could definitely put Rod Sterling in there.
Well, the alternative I was going to say is they obviously have the technology. They could just take that Rod Sterling hologram, whatever, and add some sort of weird space armor to it, and then just put it in the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. Give him like big shoulder pads and like a cybernetic eye, and there you go.
Yeah, but he's still smoking a cigarette, and yes,
it's
exactly.
A space cigarette. Yeah, it's
from space cigarette.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, all in all, like Loki blew me away because it was the one that I was least unsure of, or I was the most unsure of out of all of them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When they announced this, I remember being kind of angry. I was like, why are you doing this? I know that they set up the scene in Endgame, but I was like, but you did the thing. You like did something that was bold in Infinity War. And I remember being very proud of them for doing something bold in Infinity War. Why are you going back on this? And I'm very glad that it worked out well and that it ended up actually being very good. Despite early on being like, no, don't do this. This is a bad idea.
Yeah, it worked out well. But yeah, that's it for me. I don't know what else anybody else has to say. Hunter, you got any opinions? You've been pretty quiet, little man.
Let's see.
God damn it.
Let us rack the old brain for some opinions.
Cuban politics. No, let's not do that.
No, actually, you know what? I really like the show. I like Sylvie a whole lot. I think she's a great character. If I'm being honest, I didn't care. Like, I think Renslayer's cool, but I kind of don't care for her as much as I care about like Sylvie and like Kang and all them. So I feel like out of all the TVA people, like she's kind of the most boring.
Yeah, considering I really like that actress a lot and other things.
Yeah.
I kind of had high hopes for her based off the first few episodes. But she is kind of just like a generic bureaucratic villain by the end. She's a good one, but it's just like, all right, I guess that was it. That was what we were gonna do with that. I'm curious to see how she shows up in other stuff, and how they integrate her. Because I mean, she can be one of many Renslayer variants, which is something that I don't think I've seen a lot of people bring up. So
I
also feel like she wasn't as interesting, but they can definitely do more with her because they did a little tiny bits of hints that she's a variant and all this other stuff.
I also like that Mobius will most likely be in more things because Owen Wilson's really good in the show.
Well, he needs to ride a jet ski. Like that's they set that up. Like Chekhov's jet ski. It needs to happen.
Right.
It's also like sometimes I forget. I kind of forgot how much of a good actor he is because he's in a lot of comedies and he's just Owen Wilson. But like this really showed off. Like he's really good at doing subtle, just cool, good acting shit.
Yeah. He's a fantastic performer. And he, I guess he improvised a lot of his lines. He wrote a lot of stuff in the moment, came up with stuff, and they kept most of it. In fact, they kept it more often than they cut it.
It's almost like Owen Wilson is actually a really good writer and has great comedic timing.
Yeah. It's strange, huh? But yeah, like I just love him in the show, and it can't be said enough. His chemistry with Tom is electric, and when I really thought that he was dead at the end of episode 4, I don't think a Marvel thing has hit me that hard since Loki's death in Infinity War, because that was
real
that was a hard moment.
I feel like they kind of neutered the emotional impact of that though with the post-credit scene.
They did.
Because it was like, oh god, no, they killed Mobius. Oh wait, Loki's. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
he's not dead. So
Yeah.
it was like, oh, okay, cool.
They very
Okay,
quickly
undermined.
undercut it. Yeah. But like, at the same time, come on, that post credit that was a great moment. This is why I do wish that we had been doing more shows, but the timing and things, because that was a great week there of waiting for episode 5, and yeah, um, I want to talk about a little bit more about Sylvie, because I feel like we keep almost talking about her a lot and then kind of
really
skipping past her. Um, she's she's a very strong character. I like, again, sort of in the vein of Richard E. Grant. I like that she is very much her own version of Loki, and the way that they define her. I like that they didn't do the thing that I was suggesting when we initially met her, which is she's a variant purely because she's a woman. I like that they gave it a little bit more depth than that. That it was she's a variant because early on she wanted to be the good guy, and from what we can put together, it seems like that was going to stick. And I like the idea that Lokis are just being kept down; they aren't allowed to grow or develop, and I like the way that theme plays out throughout the rest of the show. And again, it comes back in the finale, where uh, not necessarily her choice, but even she couldn't escape that that idea that a Loki
she couldn't.
couldn't.
Yeah, through her experience, she couldn't trust anyone, and it's just like
yeah. It's I just love the way that they like pay attention to the themes, and the themes all come together and they make a point at the end, and no little choices are made that undermine those themes for the most part. So like I really like the show. I really want Michael Waldron and other people involved to be on other Marvel stuff going forward. Because this might be one of the most well-written Marvel things, I don't know, since the original Guardians, maybe, if I had to pick a thing. Off the top of my head. Like,
I don't disagree. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I feel like Guardians was a film that a lot of us weren't sure about when they mentioned or they brought it up that's coming out, and I feel like James Gunn had a bit more freedom on Guardians than he did on Guardians 2 or anything else he was involved with going forward. And I definitely feel like Loki, they kind of gave them, at least I got the impression, they had a bit more freedom to play around with things just based on what was going on.
Yes.
So that's actually a pretty good parallel to bring up there.
Yeah, because I think this, at least at the very beginning, it felt more secluded from the rest of Marvel stuff, in the same way that Guardians did. It felt like there's miles of ocean. This metaphor is going to break apart immediately, but I'm going to stick with it. But there's just so much space between this and other Marvel stuff. And I like the fact that they take advantage of that. And Marvel's always been very good about that. They've always been willing to say, just because we can have this toy show up here doesn't mean it has to. They've always been very restrained when they need to, for the most part. It's very smart of them to do, when they first did that original Doctor Strange movie, to not have anyone show up. There are almost no real cameos that I can think of. There are, of course, references, but they keep it very restrained and to what the story is at that moment.
They weren't getting messy with it.
And this show could have gone crazy, but they didn't. They had a story in mind and they stuck to that story. But they threw in cool little stuff for us fucking dweebs when they could. So I really appreciated that. So do we want to talk about we've kind of talked about some of the news already.
Well,
but
did you have any? Well, hold on. Did you have any final thoughts on the show before we jump off of it?
I feel like even the other smaller characters are still great. Like Wonmi Osaka, who was also in Lovecraft Country.
Yeah,
she was like one of the hunters or whatever they're called. She was really good. You know, she didn't do like a lot, but she still did like some good moments. She was like one of.
She did a lot with very little.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of wonder if Jonathan Majors had anything to do with her getting on the show, or if it was just that they.
I think maybe somebody watched the show and they was like, saw both those actors, like, get them in here.
Could be. I mean, I listened to an interview with I can't remember this woman's name, but she's done the casting for every Marvel movie, and now every show. She only hired an assistant after Endgame. Or a credited assistant.
Whoa.
And she was talking about how a lot of times the thing that gets her new faces is actually television. That's the place where she finds new people to look for. So she probably saw early versions of Lovecraft before even we had. Among other things. So I think that they were always on the list. And Majors, before he became
he's already been
name,
like buzzing.
Yeah, like he's been on the tip of people's tongues for a while. So it was really just a matter of time. And yeah, like this was, I do think it's interesting that it happened so close to that, and it happened so close to a piece of news that we're probably going to be talking about later. But coming so close with Lovecraft officially getting canceled and stuff, like it's interesting, but I think it's more coincidental than anything. But yeah.
But you're saying it's a
just overall I like the show. It was really good. All the stuff you guys said, did all that.
No, I need you to give me every point that we made that you agreed with.
It's cool, it's good. Give us more. We gonna watch it. All right.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I will watch 15 seasons of this.
Honestly, if they're all unique and good, yeah.
Well, going back to what you were saying earlier, Arlen, about like it felt like they weren't gonna go crazy with this season. And I understand why they didn't, because they needed to show how strong it was and how good Hiddleston was. Not that we didn't already know, but I feel like now that those gloves are off, the seasons going forward can have things like, hey, and this is the version of Steve Rogers that got the Iron Man suit. Like they can do things like that and just be like, okay, that's fine, that's normal.
Oh, they could do Cap Wolf and shit like that too.
Yes.
So so there's like a lot of cool things they could do.
I mean, there are a lot of people who are like still really want to see like Hugh Jackman show up officially in the MCU as Wolverine.
I don't think
he's already done. He's retired. He's like not in shape anymore.
I know. Hey, I agree. I'm just saying, if there's a place to do it, a one-off in Loki season 2, sure. If they can,
he's already made it clear. Like, look, I'm fucking old and I'm tired. I don't
think he wants to do it. Although that's the thing. If it's him and he's in the suit. I
would, if he was back, I'd be excited, but I feel like he's made it clear.
I don't want him back, just a cameo. Like he's in a bar in like an alternate version of fucking Madripoor.
He's in like some variant he's not ripped anymore. He's kind of like
I don't care. You put him in a yellow suit, even if he's like fucking fat. He's eating a giant pizza. Just fucking.
Let's be real here, though. Like Wolverine's coming back. Like they're not gonna.
But
I'm throwing out an idea that I don't think will happen, but I could see happening because it's Loki.
I just want Wolverine to be like some newer young actor who's gonna fucking just like get us excited again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I want somebody that we don't know. I mean, my first choice is him and the actress from his movie that he put on Shudder. The adults.
Won't you come my way?
Who deserves better?
My darling.
What the fuck?
I'm just saying. Yeah, Misfit man.
I had a thing that I was gonna say, and it's gone now. It's just dust in the wind.
That's fine. It couldn't have been that important, could it? I know since well, I did want to say I hope the only thing we see of the Fox X-Men is Quicksilver that we saw in WandaVision that wasn't even really Quicksilver.
Boner.
Yes, I hope that's the only little bit that original Fox X-Men fans get.
I honestly, if that's the only thing, I'm pretty happy with that because that is something that I think people wanted to see is those two like kind of interacting with each other. Yep. And like anything else, I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah. No, I think it would be egregious if they don't give it like a strong reason for it to be happening. And that was a moment where it's like, yeah, no, this works. This fits with what they're doing. That makes sense.
Yep.
So,
yeah. But yeah, something that Arlen was kind of hinting at with news that happened recently was HBO deciding not to go with the second season of Lovecraft Country. Because that's them saying it's
that's related. So I guess we can't.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is.
Them
saying it's canceled. I never really even thought they were going to do a second season because
the writers were kind of like, we're not sure what we would do, and then like.
Yeah, because if HBO has shown anything, it's that they don't know what to do when they don't have a book to guide them.
Yeah. Unless you're the Leftovers, which is like 1 in a million.
Yes.
Like Leftovers was lucky to be better in its later seasons.
To be honest, I feel like they were just like, hey, this show's kind of a one-off thing, and like the creators just like ramping to do the next thing yet, maybe in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
let's just cancel it because we feel like it's not going to be more of it.
You don't have to go into all the details, but I think there were a lot of reasons that Lovecraft didn't come back for a season 2. But chiefly among them, I think the story was done.
Yeah. It just felt
I really do. Yeah, and I think that it's HBO. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They can bring this show back in 10 years. If they say there is another book.
Yeah.
They can bring it back then. They can bring it back when there's a story.
Their magic back.
I mean, True Detective is effectively done right now. And it's not coming back in the near future. It's not a bad thing because Nick Pizza clearly had 2 stories in his head. And
wait, hold on. His name is hold on. You cannot.
Hunter, this is a running bit.
His name
is a running bit, Hunter. Okay, his real name, if you're gonna make me say it, is Nick Pizzolato or Pizzolato. Okay.
Al dente.
I have up until this moment refused to not just call him Nick Pizza because it's easier, and also apparently he's kind of an asshole, so he kind of deserves it. He really pissed off the director of season 1, which is why he was not on season 2. And that
makes sense.
And that may explain why the director of season 3 did not stay on season 3. Nick Pizza he's just apparently kind of a prima donna and a little bit of a jerk. Him and the director didn't get along for the first season entirely. He's just apparently very controlling about his creative vision and so on and so forth.
Which is ridiculous because the whole reason that guy's name is even known is because of season 1 of True Detective. Slow your roll a little bit there, sir. Know your place.
Yeah, and season 2, if you don't remember, has like a number of digs against the director of season 1. You see like a big Hollywood movie being shot where the director is an Asian American who's like a real like dickweed and really dumb. And it's very clearly the director of True Detective season 1. Like if you look at pictures of him, it's like, oh, you just fired some shots.
Honestly, I've forgotten more about season 2 than I remember about it.
I can't forget season 2. I'm unable to.
I can because they didn't go with the secret. What was it? There's supposed to be a weird occult angle to the Transportation Authority of California.
It was you can see the bones of what it would have been, and it's not there. Instead, they had Taylor Kitsch playing a closeted gay cop.
Soldier.
What a world! Imagine if that was real.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. That's not a thing in real life. That's never been a thing.
Nope.
No. None of them are overcompensating for anything.
No, they're all confidently straight.
Nah.
And not homophobic or racist or nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They don't beat their wives.
Racist.
They've never beat their wives. Come on.
No. But I think this is a real tangent here. But anyways, HBO could bring this back when they have a story in mind. But I don't think they will. And everybody else is going on to do good things. Like I would feel more heartbroken if none of them were ever working again. But like the showrunner Misha Green has a deal with Apple Plus now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like they're all doing stuff. Presumably Black Canary will return in another DC thing at some point. And so and the list goes on.
Yeah, well,
it's very hard to say with DC with any with any
with
so
any
like,
we want to do more stuff. Keep an eye on it.
I think there's a
for
lot
better
of
and for worse.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of actors tied up with Warner Brothers DC that want to do a lot of things but aren't going to be anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when even Margot Robbie is like, when even she's like, I don't know when I'm going to play Harley again. It's like, what? You don't know when you're going to play Harley again? What?
Well, I'd seen an interview with her where she was saying like she's tired of playing her and she needs a break.
You know what? Sure. I get it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, because she played her like twice in a row, very close together. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
I get it.
Well, and they had. I was also reading an interview with James Gunn where he had said like, shockingly, Warner Brothers / DC was like, yeah, we'd really like if you had Margot in, but you don't have to. And he chose to bring her in.
Yeah, because she has like a weird producer credit thing in her contract where she can be like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Because they gave her because previous leadership gave her a lot of power. Previous leadership run by our favorite person, Roller Coaster Man. I wonder why he gave this blonde woman from Australia so much creative control.
Wait, what did you say? What? I'm confused. What happened?
Oh,
this is a running bit.
Do you not know?
Do you know? Have we not explained Roller Coaster Man?
No.
Okay, this is the long story. But the short version is one of the previous guys in charge of Warner Brothers he's Eskimo Brothers with a number of people in Hollywood. Because of a woman named I can never remember her fucking name. Because of this British blonde woman who looks very generic. Because of her, he apparently made a lot of really dumb choices. A lot of people made dumb choices because of her.
Well, but that's not explaining the reason why he's called Roller Coaster Man.
No, okay, so yes, I was giving a little. Okay, that's right, Roller Coaster Man. I've affectionately called him Roller Coaster Man because before being the head of Warner Brothers, he was in charge of theme parks for Warner Entertainment, specifically Six Flags. He was in charge of all of those things. He then went on to be in charge of movies. You know, those two things that are very interrelated and very similar, in no way different from one another. And the fact that he was in charge of roller coasters does not reflect in movies made from 2013 until he left in 2018 at all. You couldn't say that many of his films are just roller coasters. That would be a silly thing to suggest about the quality of the films during his time in charge of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, and the story that Arlen was trying to explain about him being Eskimo Brothers with Neil Marshall is that's partially why he was leaving too. They claim it's not, but that came out, and he was ousted shortly after that.
It happened. Yes, this also happened around the Justice League stuff, and AT&T buying Warner Brothers, it was a perfect storm. It was a great explanation to fire him a couple months before he got his Justice League bonus.
Yep. So yeah, the long winding short story. That's why they say or why we say roller coaster.
I was a little confused. I didn't know what's going on.
No, makes sense. It's it's not something that most people would actually know about or even care about. But we here at the Phantom Zone pride ourselves on our obsession with minutiae.
Yeah. Roller Coaster Man, Sandwich Duchess. These are our rogues gallery. Yeah.
So go ahead. Somebody was gonna go.
I don't know. Arlen is talking.
So there was. I was trying to segue into Marvel news way back.
Well, too bad.
Yeah. So one that I somehow forgot about is the director of the season is not returning for season 2. I guess does anybody have strong feelings about this one way or the other?
For Loki?
Yeah.
I feel like mean they'll probably get somebody good. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Marvel's finished. It's over.
Marvel's done. They can't keep a female director. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. I trust that they'll be able to find someone to bring out something very different. Like they've done it multiple times in the past. I mean, look at what happened with the Russo brothers. Like they kind of pulled those guys out of comedy writing and turned them into what they are. Well, they got to turn into what they are. So I have utmost faith that they'll be able to find actual talent and let them do what they want to do to an extent.
Yeah, exactly. Like Marvel is very good about this stuff. They pay attention. They hire people who are very early in their careers and they give them a shot. They gave Kate Herron a shot, and this is pure speculation. She decided that she didn't just want to be a Marvel director, which is not a choice that I don't blame anybody for not wanting to be or for wanting to be. Both things are, I think, perfectly admirable and fine. She said that she wanted to work on other stuff, and great. Marvel will find somebody else who's really good. And this is something that I was saying in one of the chats. It's an opportunity for somebody else, which is always cool. I'm always in favor of that. Spreading the wealth around. In a business where there are only like 5 places that you can get your project greenlit, giving a leg up to somebody new is a good thing. So yeah, I'm in favor.
What were some of the other news that you had gathered?
The other big one that I could find is there was that What If trailer, which I don't think we got a chance to talk about.
No, we didn't.
Yeah. It's a cool trailer. Just I'll start off with that.
Yeah.
I'm
a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, like they jam a lot in there in a very small, succinct amount of time. But I just like the general tone of what they're doing with What If, it seems. I'm still not a fan of the animation, but that's my own personal thing.
I kind of agree. Like it's not. I don't think it's bad. It just feels not cool enough.
Yeah.
It's like,
it does the job.
Passable.
I was reading about it. Like what it is that it's something newer where people are able to take pre-existing film of live actors and they can animate over it, and it gives us what we're seeing. So they can take pre-existing scenes from the MCU films and be able to use them to match the rest of the animation style. So it's
so like a digital automated rotoscoping
kind of. Yeah. So like, I'm not 100% sold on the animation style, but knowing that now, I'm like, okay, it works. It works for what they're going to do because they're going to probably be pulling heavily from prior MCU films and then adding their own stuff in with it. So I'm
way more into it now that you said that, because that's actually that's really cool. Like, because it definitely seemed like they were recreating certain moments, but knowing that they were using them for direct reference is actually interesting to me. I like how everything is so specific to the MCU so far,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. But at the same time, it does feel like they're going off in some directions. I feel like people have been asking for Marvel Zombies as like a movie or something for a long time. People are going to get that now.
It makes sense for the what if, because I don't want to see like I don't think they're not going to do Marvel Zombies in the fucking normal MCU.
No. I mean, they've gotten close apparently from rumors that I've heard and things and rumblings throughout the years. Civil War was apparently going to be something adjacent to that for a while.
I don't know how that would have worked, but okay.
Because originally it wasn't Civil War. It was like Sam and Cap and the Winter Soldier trying to stop like a virus or a pandemic.
That would have been great.
What?
That storyline also rolled over to an early version of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Then they put it out. They cut it because of COVID and shit.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Wow.
I don't know. What if like everything that you can see in the trailer and in that poster where you see Vision wearing Ultron's armor, and you see Spider-Man with the Doctor Strange's cloak. Like, I'm all about that stuff, but I'm super into also seeing like how they'll shoehorn things that you'll never get to see in any live action into what if scenarios, because I know every single what if story is going to be based around pre-existing MCU characters. Like, I don't think they're going to try and introduce anybody new via what if. So it's going to be interesting to see how they. Go ahead.
The Watcher is going to be in it. We know that.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be like. I doubt he'll come back. Really.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to get more screen time for certain supporting characters. Like, there's more Howard the Duck in this than anybody's seen in 30 years.
There's Killmonger, because it has Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger in it.
Yes.
What if Killmonger saved Tony Stark? Yeah, but I mean,
because
go ahead.
Killmonger's the king.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's true.
He becomes the king of Wakanda in that.
I'm curious though to see like once another season of this comes out, because I guarantee you there's going to be another season of this. What they'll do from there, because there's going to be presumably a lot of stuff that happens in the next year, basically, with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. So it'll open up a lot of avenues going forward.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to get a lot of announcements between now and then. And I think we'll get new casting of certain characters. 4 characters, to be precise.
No, I still feel like that's pretty far out.
We may not get full casting, but I feel like they announced something. I
just want them to announce who the mailman is going to be for Fantastic Four.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, think about like this. I think we got an announcement for Bree in like 2015 or something. It was like, and that's like 3 or 4 years before Captain Marvel came out.
I mean, just because they announced the cast doesn't mean we'll know jack shit about the movie.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So I could at least see them announcing Reed and Sue. Probably, Reed and Sue. I think I could see them announcing them, or even just Doom. Before
would be cool.
Ever get a movie announced. Even though that is apparently the next thing, even if it doesn't have a date, after all the stuff we know. I'm curious to see how they do use What If in the future. Do they use it in later seasons to introduce characters that we haven't met yet? Because introducing us to a variant version of a character it's interesting. It gives us enough of who a character is to keep us interested, but it allows filmmakers to just throw stuff away that they don't like.
I feel like the whole point of What If is the characters we already know, to see them in a different light or a different
And I think that will stay as like for an episode the main plot line. But I think having one of the supporting characters be somebody that we don't know, like
maybe that could happen.
People, what's the fucking character with like the horse face that
Beta Ray Bill
gets Mjolnir? Beta Ray Bill. I could easily see Beta Ray Bill showing up as like a supporting character.
That'd be fine.
In a What If.
They teased him in MCU.
Yeah, they did. And that's his first appearance, and then he shows up in Thor 5 or another space-based movie, something down the line. I don't know, a Nova movie or something. Who knows?
I could see them throwing him in like whoever's going to take over the next Guardians of the Galaxy film. Like I could see him being in the Guardians because in a way I feel like them having Thor in the next Guardians film is kind of a soft way to introduce that idea of having like, I don't know, God in the Guardians.
Yeah. The Guardians though in the comics they always have rotating members that would join them. Kind of guess they had Iron Man join them for a while. They had like Angela of Asgard. They have so they they can have anyone join them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They had Venom and stuff. So like,
they did.
It could be anything.
Yeah, although I hope Venom never comes into the MCU.
It's too late, man. He's too popular.
The sandwich queen will have a revenge.
God damn it. It's just going to make a bunch of people wear really bad shirts. And it's going to be just like...
I hate to say it. All of these shows, that's what they do. Like, you're not going to stop them. You're not going to stop them.
I know. It's just, I don't want Venom. I'm tired of him. He's stupid. He's ridiculous edgelord bullshit.
I like his dumb mouth.
But Eric,
my point,
you need to
understand something.
Spawn is coming
different.
out next year, Eric.
Yep.
It's coming. Yep. It's happening.
Yeah. It was filmed in 2014, don't you know?
Sure, Todd. Go back to staring at baseballs. What were you saying, Issa?
I was gonna say I kind of get why the thing with Venom, even though we're gonna get more Venom, but I feel like they should do something with Venom like they did with like some of the other characters, like there's another side to it, or like don't just embrace.
I would like Asian Venom.
Right,
that'd be cool.
Treat it like they did Batrock the Leaper, where it's like it's the basic like template for what the character is, but they do something completely different.
Yeah, make it more like exactly.
Yeah, I
Monster
don't know. Yeah. Well, I know you and Arlen want monsters, so maybe you'll eventually get. Yeah, maybe
we will have our werewolf by night, Eric. We will have.
Yeah, we will. Okay, I'm the only person. I'm the only person on Earth who wants like the Marvel monsters to come to the MCU. So
what are you talking about? I want them so badly. I want the Marvel monsters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who the fuck are the Marvel monsters? I like comics and I don't even know what that is.
There's Morbius. Who cares about Morbius? I like Morbius, but who cares? There's
Morbius is sullied now.
Because it's fucking what's his face.
Yeah.
There's Werewolf who can turn into a werewolf on command with like a cool robot arm.
I can do that too. Big deal.
Yeah.
There's Werewolf by Night, who's awesome.
Yes.
He's a werewolf.
It's happening. Yeah, he's a werewolf. His name's Jack Russell.
Jack Russell Terrier.
Fucking love.
Give it to me.
You might get a werewolf depending on how much they decide to go with J. Jonah Jameson in the next Spider-Man film, because
they should have
his son.
Introduce his son.
Animal.
Yeah. Yep.
They should have a character that's called a werewolf, and he's like very aware and conscious about things, but he's also a werewolf.
That's his power.
He's a werewolf. His name is John Wolfe. He's just a very aware wolf. Yeah. No, the Marvel monsters aren't happening. We might see a Dracula in Blade, but I don't think.
Supposedly, Ethan Hawke is playing a vampire in Moon Knight.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I believe that, but
it's a rumor.
But okay, well, like it's perfect. It's perfect for Moon Knight to go up against vampire first. Like
it would be perfect.
I mean, yeah, they have to do the meme, so I guess.
And also, Mobius brings up vampires in the.
I saw that as more of a Blade thing. I really.
Well,
you
gotta introduce them at some point, Arlen.
I know. I'm just saying, like.
But that's the thing. Like having Ethan Hawke as a vampire in Moon Knight would be a really good way to introduce Blade, because isn't Moon Knight coming out before Blade supposedly?
It is
supposedly,
yeah. So I think that would be a really good way.
Speaking of Moon Knight, Marvel, show me the Moon Knight costume, cowards.
Right?
I don't think they have one yet. I really I don't think they did.
Yeah, they probably have
there's probably
drawings of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably all the drawings that I sent Kevin Fahey in his desk right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's scary? What are the variants of Hunter Davenport like?
There's a really short one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the only
Hunter
one.
Davenport.
Yeah, there's a version of him that's like what's his face from Green Lantern comics, the guy with the gigantic head. Like he's just got the tiny body, but he's got a giant head.
Yeah, there's one that's just a cloud.
Yes.
As a popular 2000s comic book movies.
There's one is a black woman version of Hunter Davenport.
Yes.
Hunter's Davenport.
Well, I mean, the Ebony Falcon flies again.
With Moon Knight, I'm really wondering, like, Hunter with the costume, which one they'll go with, or if they'll have him try various outfits. Because
I think
I think they'll start with the classic one.
Yeah.
Like Iron Man, Iron Man goes through all the, he starts with the classic one, and like a lot of the MCU stuff, they start with like, oh, do the standard costume, then we'll move on to the more.
Yeah.
I want to see him.
I think
the Warren Ellis run costume.
Yeah, the Mr. Knight costume.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think eventually they'll get there. I don't know if they're gonna do like the multiple personalities in the first like season or whatever. Because like that feels like something like you gradually introduce.
I mean, we
lay
know
the scenes for it.
We know very little about what they're actually doing, but just going off the fact that like the first thing that we really saw, or one of the first things we really saw was Oscar Isaac doing tactical training.
It was sick.
And that makes me think that whatever they're doing, it will lean in that sort of like tactical direction at first.
Yeah, because he's a mercenary. Like he's a former soldier, so it's like it's kind of perfect. And I saw some people saying that he was training for Metal Gear Solid, but that movie's not happening. So
it's not gonna happen.
I think that two birds, one stone. But Metal Gear isn't happening in the short term. That's an important thing to remember. That
they
if it is actually happening,
they've started with like some writing and some stuff like that. It's not going to come to fruition. Now they're gonna eventually just like be development hell forever.
Yeah. Exactly. Eventually, Konami will shoot them in the head. That's what's gonna happen.
No, they'll drop pachinko machines on them.
Yeah, that director's Gundam movie will happen before Metal Gear.
I believe 100%. That's happening. That's 100% happening.
That's 100% happening, and we all know what I'm looking forward to in that Gundam film.
A Gundam wearing a sombrero in a poncho.
It's not a gun; it's a space station, Hunter, because the countries all left Earth.
Have you not seen the pictures of the Gundam with a sombrero and a poncho? Because it exists. It's not.
So Gundam. So there's a Gundam that goes undercover by wearing a sombrero and a poncho to hide that it's a Gundam, and it's the best thing on Earth. It's amazing. It's guys. If you still haven't seen G Gundam, you need to watch G Gundam because, my God. Somebody made that, somebody animated that, and they didn't say, why are we doing this?
People paid to make that. There it is.
Yes.
I like my favorite part is he has cactus arms. Like that's somehow like a Mexican thing.
Absolutely. I like if you look up the Italian Gundam, it's just a guy with spikes.
Yes.
Because sure, why not?
Neo Mexico. It's kind of offensive, but also kind of cool at the same time. Like I'm not sure.
If it's not in the movie, I will riot. Just me. I just. I can't wait for Gundam.
I'm gonna watch Gundam tonight.
You should. A lot of it's on Netflix now. So if anybody wants to watch like actual Gundam, the Gundam that has like artistic standards, And like,
what's the one? There was one that was on like Cartoon Network for a while when I was younger, and like
Gundam Wing.
I kind yeah,
it was
I
probably
didn't
Wing or
like
G. It was one of the two, probably.
Might have been Gundam Wing because like it was kind of like wasn't like kind of 3D animation. They did some 3D shit. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Are you talking about the one where like the toys were all like mini and or like chibi kind of?
Zoids?
I'm not. No, not that one. There's one. There's a. Maybe it's not even Gundam. I think it's a Gundam show where
it might have been
okay,
Zoids because Zoids was a very similar concept.
Maybe it was, but I don't know. It was like it was.
That Hunter is very
like
wrong about because that show was good.
No, it's awful.
Zoids? Let me look up Zoids because I don't know if it was fucking.
They're like giant robot cats and robot wolves.
It's fucking
and
stupid.
It's the greatest thing ever, and you're wrong.
Hey, Hunter,
I can't believe that we disagree on this thing. Like
Hunter, Grant Morrison wrote the Zoids comic for a while when it was in the
UK. You know what? I bet that's the only good part of Zoids. But like the TV show and the toys suck.
How dare you? I'm really just amazed that we disagree on this when it comes to giant things shaped like animals. We agree on everything else, but Zoids is like the bridge too far for you. This is your.
You know what's funny is I don't like real talk. I don't even hate Zoids that much. I don't hate Zoids that much, but it's really funny to see people's reactions to when I say fuck Zoids.
Like this thing nobody else cares about. But like you're like fuck it, and they're like,
yeah, fuck Zoids.
Oh, it's your version of me saying fuck Moon Knight.
Wow.
Yeah, but those are actual fighting words, so it's different.
I've never read a Moon Knight comic, but
Leo has joined us, everyone.
I will leave this chat.
Well, he's been here the whole time. He just hasn't
listened.
He has been.
Yeah. He hasn't been able to talk. So you waiting for an Uber?
I'm still at work. I'm cleaning up.
Oh.
So were you able to figure out if it was Zoids or not, or
yeah, it might have been Zoids. I'm still not sure, but like, I don't know.
No, I think I know what you're talking about though, because I do vaguely remember something that had like a CGI-esque. Like,
it was like half anime and half like a little bit of like some of the robot stuff was like kind of 3D looking.
Yeah, although
what were the robots like?
Metabots?
There was a robot.
I don't know.
Cartoon that was like that, but I don't know.
Metabots was on.
When you say CG anime, it reminds me of that picture that I shared like a year ago.
Oh God, I know which one you're talking about from Transformers.
Metabots fucking rules.
Yeah, where they're not Transformers, they were just like dinosaur skeletons that turn into robots.
I remember that one. I've been looking for that for years. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I could. Yeah,
they're
I
like
couldn't
awesome,
remember
right?
the title of it, but yeah. And then the human characters are
Zoids, and I didn't
anime.
like it. Fuck Zoids. I'm with Hunter. Sorry.
Was it called Dice? I remember a show.
It's
like
Zoids.
that.
It's
called
Zoids.
Dice.
It's fuck Zoids.
Oh, Zoids?
Zoids.
No, it was Zoids.
I fucking hate Zoids.
Well, because the Zoids were CG. Actually, the Zoids were CG. I remember that. The Zoids were CG, but the rest of it was. I don't know. Oh, we should probably wrap. This is
because you guys were
the longer we go, the more of a war crime this is.
Yeah,
I don't know who it's a war crime against, but it's a war crime.
Yeah, let's just kill this shit.
Yeah, I guess we should wrap it up. All right, well, this was our rambling discussion of Loki for part of it, and then it somehow turned into a discussion about hatred of Zoids.
Fuck Zoids.
Honestly, I can't actually say that I like Zoids. I just I want to be against. I want to be on the opposite side. I need to disagree. So yeah.
Brittany, you better not like that, you motherfucker. I've attempted to be a host, Erik Fedorcha. You can find me at Instagram at Erik_Fedor. Pictures, dogs, and cats, and food and comics. I'm floating around the Phantom Zone. I'm other places on the internet at other times. And I guess just R.I.P. Bismarcky. Amazing fucking DJ, beatboxer, and rapper.
Honestly,
what was that?
What?
Leo was talking from an alternate time.
Yeah. My boss is talking to me. Sorry.
Tell your boss to shut the fuck up. I'm kidding.
What?
Okay. I'm kidding.
Can't do that. He's a good guy.
I know. I'm just fucking with you.
He's still the boss.
No Asian hate, remember?
Fuck capitalism. All right. Anyone else got any plugs?
Yeah, sure. My other show should have a new episode coming out sometime soon. I guess hockey was happening in Canada, so that's why there's been not a lot of episodes. So yeah,
Go
look
Habs.
forward to that. Yeah. So yeah, listen to LHP when it comes out soon, and yeah.
You can listen to Kame Club every Sunday. We have a new episode coming out tomorrow, all about the Switch and Nintendo. We talked a little about Zelda.
Oh, Switch
cooler
is old
stuff.
news, man. Switch is old news.
It
Doesn't
is.
matter anymore.
See, I don't want to hear it.
Did the Switch crash its website on its first day? I think not.
Yes. Everyone is so wrong with Steam Deck. I like it's not okay. Side tangent here for a second. The Steam Deck is cool. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But if you think it is going to crack any other market outside of US and Europe, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
it will be funny when somebody comes out with a stable Switch emulator for it. Then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, Comic Club every Sunday. Look forward to that. It's available everywhere, pretty much. Also, if you like Zoids, don't.
You like Zoids, we're gonna fuck you
go
up.
Fuck yourself. Yeah.
Me and Hunter are gonna find you and beat the shit out of you.
Hunter
are
Hunter.
going to come to your house.
I'm gonna
Hunter, have you
build a
enjoyed the
giant
second season of
Scorpion
Beastars?
Zoid and send it to your house.
Hunter and I are gonna dress like Bebop and Rocksteady and just fuck your shit up.
Yeah, we are. That's all I got.
Izza, do you have anything you want to plug?
No, but follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Are those the same username? Probably not. Twitter's _Izza. Instagram is _Gray. You'll figure it out. You'll find it. I don't know. Don't make my shit.
Oh, you mentioning _ reminds me that you should also follow Arlen's alt account on Instagram, which is YUNG _Kame KME. If you want to talk about how much you love refried beans and how much you hate.
Yeah, I endorse this
block
message.
you.
Leo, you still with us?
Yes.
You got any shit to talk before you go?
No. Go follow Hunter's new show, Comic Club, and I don't know. Just have a good weekend, whatever. Lots of love to everybody. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you for the
Also,
positive
cool night.
There we go.
My bad. It's a doubt.
Well, Leo almost had us go out on a positive note. I guess that's it, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye, motherfucker.
Large fries, motherfucker.
What?
Moon pie, motherfucker.
What?
Hard eyes, motherfucker.
Bye.